Welcome everyone to Redesigning School Counseling webinar for first-year schools, and this is our final webinar of the series. The topic this month is our year-end tasks, and these are some tasks that are important but are not necessarily related to the process that we've been using throughout this year. So we'll just begin with a reminder that during this school year, you all have worked so hard. Those of you who are watching this as an archived webinar and also those that are participating live, you really have done a lot of work to put together an organizational structure so that decisions are not just based on the perceptions of just you. You gathered data, you helped the council review the data to make decisions about your vision, your goals, your root causes, your activities. And today we're going to talk about the last part of preparation. So up until now, we've used the process to create these products. So these products pretty much define what your school counseling program is all about. You've got a vision or your dream, your goals, your resource expansion plan, priority goals, root causes, activities, and then last month you developed your lesson plans, an annual calendar, and an annual budget. So these really are this is the definition of what your school counseling program is. So today we're going to just talk about a few other products. One is professional development and how you show professionalism. Another set of products is around advocacy and how you advocate for both your program and your school counseling positions, because we need staff within the program to deliver the program, so those positions are important as well. And then also we want to make sure that you can document the process that you've used this year to develop those other products that were on the previous slide. So I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about each of these products. And then just show you where you can find examples of them and templates and all of that. So we'll start out with professionalism, and these are products that are showing your professionalism as a professional school counselor. So one document that you'll submit is, we just call it the assurances statement. There were several things that there was really no way to have you document these things other than to just say, are you doing this? And then we are taking your word for it that if you say, yes, we're doing this, then you are. So the first one is that your school counseling program meets your state rules and regulations. And then those practicing as a school counselor are licensed as a school counselor. So remember, there are parts of school counseling, like the guidance activities, that are teaching in nature. And those activities we believe can be done by a teacher advisor or homeroom teacher because we're in teaching mode. But when we get into the counseling mode, in terms of helping kids with social personal issues, then we want to make sure that those who are practicing as a school counselor and doing the social personal counseling, in addition to the academic and career guidance, that those people are licensed. So one of the things you'll sign off on is that people practicing as a school counselor, regardless of what they're called, but if they're practicing and doing social personal counseling, that they're licensed as a school counselor. Number 3, the program is coordinated by a licensed school counselor. So what we're saying here is that while the guidance part of your program, so the teaching part of your program, may be implemented by your classroom teachers or teacher advisors or people that are not counselors, we want to make sure that the whole program is coordinated by a licensed counselor. We think that's really important. We want there to be a counselor there who understands the difference between friendly listening and counseling and can say, oh, wait a minute, this is really counseling, and this should be a licensed school counselor that's providing this service. Okay, and then number 4, the counselors adhere to the ASCA ethical standards. 5, the school counselors have a private office space. And then 6 is that all the exhibitions found in the school counseling program portfolio accurately represent the school counseling program. Okay, so that's just, it's a one-pager. You'll sign off, your principal will sign off, and we're just assuring that these things are in place. Okay, then another thing that you'll be asked to document is that at least one of your counselors is involved with a professional association. So it could be ASCA, the American Counseling Association, NACAC, the Association of Career and Technical Ed, NEA, AFT, but that you're hooked up with professional membership. Does not have to be a national association. It could also be your state school counseling association or your state's ACAC. So, but just you're hooked up professionally. So in terms of documenting that, you could scan your membership card and upload it. If you have a membership fee receipt, you could scan that and upload it. A lot of counselors, I think, just because it's easy to find, will just grab a copy of their school counselor magazine from ASCA and scan that, and given that that's got the mailing label on it, and it shows that you're a member of ASCA. So just somehow we need to show that at least one of your members is associated with a professional association. Okay, then also you're needing to document that you have participated in professional development. That's going to be really easy because that's what we're doing today. So theoretically, what you could do is just make a copy of the reminder email that you got about this webinar and just upload that as your proof that you registered for and are participating in professional development. Other things that you could do is you could, provide documentation that you've attended an event, a conference, webinar, webcast, phone calls, conference phone calls, print materials that you're reading, journals or professional magazines or professional newsletters, networking that you're participating in a listserv. You could do a copy of one of the listserv emails, or that you're taking a professional course. So pretty easy, and again, because you're participating in redesigning school counseling, you could just make a copy of the reminder email you got about this webinar and upload that, and that would be fine. Okay, so this we kind of talked about. The evidence could be a program, receipt, handout. Okay. Also, in terms of the professional development providers, again, they could be professional associations, they could be nonprofits like us or College Board or ACT, it could be a government agency or college or university, so lots of different providers of professional development. And just a reminder, too, that there are different sources for funding for professional development. The nice thing about redesigning school counseling is that because we've been funded through other sources, we've been able to provide this at no cost. However, if you are looking for funding, school districts, community foundations, we have found that a lot of community foundations are interested in student guidance and will be happy to support school counselors going to professional events, businesses, nonprofits, and then just remember that there's a lot of things that are available at no cost. Okay, so that's the professionalism part. Now let's talk about the advocacy part. In advocacy, we're thinking that there's really 5 parts to an advocacy message. So if you're presenting to your school board or to a PTA or to the Kiwanis Club or writing a newspaper article, these are the kind of things that we normally include when we're doing advocacy on behalf of school counseling. So the first one is the mission, which for us is easy. It's to raise student achievement. And then program personnel, who's involved in your program. And in this case, you'd want to say list your counselors and the licenses or the credentials that they hold. And then also, I would also include your advisory council to show that your school counseling program is designed by a wide spectrum of perceptions. And then program development, that you had a student needs assessment, or you did your student surveys to see what knowledge and what social and personal issues kids had as you designed your program. And then a program overview, which normally when I'm doing a quick program overview, I'll just hit, this is our dream, this is the vision, here's our specific goals that we want to reach within the next year, and here's the services that we provide kids that will help us to reach those goals. And then the goals, because you've done RSC, the goals are always student-based. We want students to make these decisions, and these are the services that we're going to provide so that students will make those decisions. And then finally, if you have any program awards, I'd include that in advocacy, an advocacy message, for schools that have earned the RAMP Award or the Indiana Gold Star School Counseling Award. I'd include that too. That shows that people outside of your building who have expertise in the field of school counseling feel that your program is top notch. So okay, so that's kind of the message. In terms of format, one great way to advocate is with a website. I think almost all schools now at least have a page on their school's website that talks about their school counseling program. So again, if you have a website, I'm going to go back a screen, you may think about, are these things captured in your website for your school counseling page? Do you talk about your program's mission and your personnel and how the program was developed and the program overview? Is all of that captured in your school's website? Okay, another way to do advocacy is through presentations. I think a lot of schools do presentations at the beginning of the year to the student body to make sure they understand what school counseling is all about. The school board, I think, is key. We always try to do at least once a year just an update with the school board. We just wanted to make sure that we were on their radar and they knew we were doing good work. Your town council, service clubs. Another one that I started presenting to a lot was our Economic Development Council, because I wanted them to view us as part of economic development. Then also writing articles for your school newspaper, local newspaper, and brochures that you can put out in the counseling center at school. A couple years ago, I was on vacation in Minnesota, walked into a tiny, tiny, tiny town, Phillips, South Dakota, and we were in the public library, and there's a brochure for their school counseling program. I thought that was so cool. And it was a program that had been involved with ASCA, and they talked about, the different components of counseling, and it was just really cool to see those in a, on display in the public library. County courthouse, just everywhere. Where can you help people understand school counseling? And then finally, newsletters. So remember, in advocacy, one thing I think that is a mistake that sometimes counselors make is that we're not advocating for school counselors. We're advocating for the school counseling program. And then in order to deliver the program, of course, we have to have counselors. But when we go out and we advocate for school counselors, it sounds really self-serving, where when we're advocating for programs, it's for the kids, and it's just heard in such a different way. And then we can slip in, of course, to have this kind of program, we need to have smaller ratios and clerical support, or whatever it is that's needed. Okay. Another thing that you're asked to create this time is a job description if you don't already have one. We're going to give you a sample description that you can either use or edit, or just, we just wanted to have something to start with. So in the job description, we're talking about the counselor's qualifications, the primary functions, major job responsibilities. And then in the major job responsibilities, I like to divide it up this way. What are the guidance responsibilities, the counseling responsibilities, student advocacy, program management, evaluation, the program advocacy, and professionalism. So notice I have not listed the non-program activities here in a job description, because we really don't, we don't think that's part of the job. However, I could see where if it is part of your job to do non-program activities, you could include that and say, just make a heading that says non-school counseling tasks, and then write that in there as well. Okay. Then, and again, we have this, I'll show you where to download it, and then you can just tweak it if you don't already have a description. Then, another thing that ASCA asks you to do is to create a management agreement. And this is required for each individual school counselor, and it's an agreement between that counselor and the principal. So they would start out by saying, for each counselor, this is the mission of our program, here's the goals of our program, And as a school counselor, here are my time breakdowns. ASCA breaks this down into direct services to students and indirect services to students. So direct services would be guidance, counseling, advocacy. It's when we're doing those face-to-face things. And then the indirect would be the management, the program management services that you do, the kind of behind-the-scenes things. They're also suggesting that the indirect services and program planning, they've kind of separated those out. Where program planning, they're suggesting only has 20% of their time, and the direct services, where you're directly with students, parents, teachers, working face-to-face with people, that would be 80% of your time. So we're just kind of spelling out the percentage of times that you would put in these different types of activities. And I made some notes over here on the left about how the RSC terminology would fit into these divisions. So then, how are you going to do professional development in the coming year? What are your responsibilities going to be? So what's your caseload, and then what are the activities? What other responsibilities are you going to have? Dates for when the advisory council is going to meet, the planning and results documentation, and then the professional collaboration and responsibilities that you'll have, your budget, your school counseling availability, your office organization, and the role of other staff members, and then the signature of the counselor and the principal. So there's a lot of this, some of this that's going to be the same for every counselor, like your program goals and your program mission, but then there are parts of this that are individualized for each counselor as well. And then both parties, the principal and the counselor, sign off. So again, not really time consuming, but just something that for the ASCA ramp, also in Indiana, it's for the Indiana Gold Star School Counseling Award. We need to have those for each counselor. Okay, then another part of advocacy is creating a program brochure. We're giving you a link to a gazillion different program brochures that counselors across the country have developed. So, it's just a matter of, finding a template that you like, and then, dropping in information that would be more directly aligned with your school. So, yeah, so those resources are there for you as well. Okay, so in terms of public relations evidence, this is another requirement, is that you be able to prove that you did something for public relations. And again, you can write an article, you can go to a meeting. If you create a bulletin board display about your program, just take a photo of it and upload that. So we're somehow, showing that that we went out through public relations to help advocate for our programs. Okay. So that's the advocacy piece. So we've talked about professionalism, we've talked about advocacy, and the last part is to be able to document that you went through a data-driven process. So you know that you did a data-driven process. I know that you did a data-driven process because you're using RSC. But we need to be able to show that to ASCA and to other people that may wonder if, what kind of process you use to come up with your program. So two things that you'll do. One is that you'll upload the agendas from your advisory council meetings. I'll show you how to do that. And then you also will upload the minutes from your advisory council meetings. And then ASCA has some narrative questions that they'd like you to discuss. And then we also have some narrative questions. There are a couple of things that there was just no documentation that you could upload, like in the sample that's on the screen right now on counseling services. We really need you just to tell us, what counseling services do you provide? Do you provide, individual brief counseling, group counseling, consultation, referrals? What are you providing to kids in terms of your counseling services? So when this box comes up, the text box comes up, you would just type a sentence or two. I would not write, paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs about all of your counseling programs. Just very simple 1, 2, 3 sentences, and just describe what you do in terms of your personal social counseling. I'm going to sneeze. Earlier, before we started recording, the folks in Pittsburgh were sneezing, and I think that the same pollen that's bothering you in Pittsburgh is also here in Indiana. So, okay, it passed. So, one other thing is that when you're typing in these text boxes, our system will not recognize characters if you're making a bulleted list, like a dot or a check or whatever, but it will recognize dashes and asterisks. So if you're making a bulleted list, just use a dash or use an asterisk to make your list. Okay, then on some of the questions that are more process-based, I think that I know what the answer is. So on some of the questions, I took a stab at the answer to the question on your behalf. So for example, there's a question that ASCA wants to know about how was your vision statement developed. And so you can see here that I dropped in some text, and then I said that this text was suggested text provided by RSC. So, here's what we think that you did, and here's what we think that you did, and so I just typed it in. And what you can do then is just edit this. So, School Counseling Advisory Council has brainstormed 4 questions after hearing a presentation about global economics and watching a video of a public school in Harlem. Well, maybe you didn't watch the video in Harlem. If so, just edit that out. Or if you didn't do any of this, just take the whole paragraph out and put in your own paragraph. I was just trying to save you some time because I thought I knew what the answer was to this question. So, and again, if you don't like the way it's worded or whatever, just remove it and type in whatever you want to be there. Just do read it though, make sure that it's accurate, because that's one of the assurances that you stated, is that the stuff in your portfolio accurately describes your program and the process. Okay, so then let's go to the online system. I'll just kind of show you where to find all this stuff. It's pretty simple. Okay, so I'm logged in as Demo School, and I have clicked. I'll go ahead and do it again just so everybody can see, whoops, how I got to where I am. Okay, so I clicked on the Process tab, and that took me to the Process page, and first year is highlighted. And I'm going to scroll down to the very last step, and here's the different steps. So here's the webcast that we're recording right now, and then upload the Advisory Council agendas. So we have an uploader button. That's going to allow you to find a document on your computer and then upload it, and then after it's uploaded, you'll be able to click the report icon and see it and download it if you need it later. In terms of the agendas, you have 6 different agendas, but you can only upload 1 document. If you try to upload, like if you put the first agenda in and then you try to upload the second agenda, it'll kick the first agenda out. So what we need you to do is to take those 6 documents and to scan them into a PDF, and then upload 1 PDF document that's got all 6 pages in it. So same thing with So this is 1 document, you scan it into a PDF, and you've uploaded it. On your minutes, we just want to make sure that you've reviewed the minutes. So if you click on this, notice this is not an uploader button, this is an edit enter, and looks different than the one above it. So you just go in and just check each of your 6 minutes, make sure that they're the way you want them. On the job description, here's where you can download the template, and you can edit that. So or the sample, so just download it and work with that, and then when you're happy with what it is, then save it and then upload it. The individual counseling management agreements, same thing. If you've got 2 counselors in your school, you're going to have 2 of these, scan them into 1 PDF and then upload that PDF. The assurances statement, download it, fill it out, sign it, upload it. Program brochure, This actually takes you to a Google search that shows all those different school counseling brochures, and then you can find one or a couple of ideas to create a template for you. Upload public relations, upload professional association membership, upload your professional development proof, enter your narrative questions. Click on that real quickly. So here's how they appear, here's how many there are, and again, 2 or 3 sentences. Don't write paragraphs and paragraphs. So on counseling services, I click on that. Here's the text box. Just type that in, and then if I go down to, where is it, the vision, and click there, you can see here's our text that we put in as a starting spot, and then you can edit or remove or do whatever you want to with that one. Okay, submit PGP log, professional growth point log. This is for Indiana schools. If you're seeking PGPs from us for your renewal of your license, here's where you can download that, and then you'll actually email, attach, or fax this to us. And then same thing with the IU credit. In presenting to your school counseling program to your school board, I will have a tool in here, which will be a PowerPoint presentation template for you to use. Okay, so then let's review the rubric, and a couple things on that. First of all, I'm going to click the rubric button, and here is the rubric for everything that you're working on this month. So advisory council agendas are present, same rubric items for minutes that we've always used. Job description, the job description includes the qualifications, primary functions, and the job responsibilities. Management agreement is present for each counselor. Assurances statement is signed by the counseling director and the principal. Program brochure is present. Public relations exhibit is present. Evidence that the counselors are involved with their professional association, professional development, and then the narrative questions. So just make sure you've checked all of those, and that you're good to go as you complete those steps. Then, prior to submitting your portfolio, if you would please, either if you're submitting work to ASCA or you're submitting work to us, please do go through, just scroll up and check everything. I'll show you in a minute what the reviewers will do if we're reviewing your portfolio. But it's really helpful that if there's a glitch with one of these, you find it before we find it. It just makes everything a lot more efficient. So we want you to find any glitches and correct them before you submit. Okay, then let me go back to the process page. The very last thing then is, after you're all finished, then you're able to do these last 2 things. One is to publish your school counseling program portfolio online. This is a great advocacy tool to show people what your program is all about and how it was developed. So if I click on Publish School Counseling Program Portfolio Online, what this is going to do is it's going to create a website for your school counseling program, and then you'll have a URL that you can link your school's website to, or if you've got a school counseling page on your school's website, you can link that to it as well. So I'm just going to click on this, Publish Your Portfolio Online, and you can see right now this portfolio is not published. If I choose to publish it, these are the things that the public are going to be able to see. They'll be able to see who's on the steering team, who's on the advisory council, and then the major products, vision statement, goals, priority goals, activities, and your calendar. So it's really easy to do this. All you do is just click this button, and now I can see that my portfolio is published online. So to get to the portfolio, I would just click on View Published Portfolios, and here's all the schools that have chosen to publish their portfolios. And so you would be able to find yours here as well. I'll just open up one of them. Let's open up Lincoln Middle School in Indianapolis. So there's a little paragraph that talks about how the program was developed. And then I can actually open these and see the roster report or the vision statement, program goals, priority goals, and the program activities. So this is all ready to go. All you would need to do is copy this URL and then link from, you could link from an email to this, or link from another website to this, or from social media to this site. So, lots of different ways you can use this. Now, if you publish and then for some reason you decide, I really don't want this to be public, all you have to do is click Unpublish, and now that portfolio is no longer published. So it's really easy to go back and forth. It just, depending on what you've clicked here, it either creates the website and makes it public, or it takes the website down. So, okay. So then the very last step for an Indiana school, I'm going back to the process page. The very last step for an Indiana school is to submit your portfolio to the Indiana Department of Education. As soon as DOE gets this, this is the only way that DOE gets this, and the Department of Ed will not know that you want them to review you for the Gold Star Award unless you hit this button. So of course don't hit this button until you've checked all the rubric items and you think everything's fine. Occasionally, maybe once every 4 or 5 years, we have a school submit a train wreck and it's just a disaster. So really do make sure that you've checked out all the rubric items. For schools that participate in these webinars with us, they're usually fine, but just make sure you've checked everything. If you are a school outside of Indiana, just when you're ready for, if we're doing your review, when you're ready for us to review, just send me an email and let me know that you're ready for me to begin the review, and then we'll make that happen and get back with you. Okay, so let's talk then a little bit about what happens after you hit that submit button. And got a couple PowerPoint slides on this one. Okay, so after you've submitted that portfolio submit button, then here's what will happen. And again, the deadline for Indiana schools is June 21st. The deadline for schools outside of Indiana is, oops, let me change that real quickly. Go back. There we go. Is also, if we are doing the review, it's going to be June 21st. That's negotiable, so if that deadline is not going to work, just let me know and we can talk about that. Okay, so after you submit your portfolio, then the portfolios will be reviewed in the last 2 weeks of July. And just watch your email after that. You will get an email that either says that your portfolio has been approved, or that there's some revisions that you need to make. And I'll show you how that will work in a second. Excuse me. So whatever that email says to do, just make sure that you go ahead and do that. If it's an Indiana school, that email will also include instructions about how to ask a ramp school. Okay, and then the last thing on this page is that if, for Indiana schools, if you're submitting time logs for your professional growth points, make sure that we get those also by June 21st. Okay, so when you submit, I wanted you to see this so that you realize how important those rubric items are. This is what a reviewer page looks like, whether it's Indiana Gold Star or it's us, our organization, reviewing a portfolio for a school out of state. So the reviewer will go down and check each of the rubric items, and these are the same rubric items you've been looking at. They just have to be able to find it. And so they're looking for a place in your portfolio that they can put their finger on and say, yes, there are at least 2 members on the steering team. Yes, we find in the data collection that the data includes students' post-secondary plans. And then what will happen is there's 2 reviewers. The first reviewer will say that this meets criteria, or they'll say please revise. And if they say please revise, they're going to add a comment, and that comment is going to tell you exactly what to do differently. Okay, then after the first reviewer is finished, the second reviewer then does a review, and that person is verifying what the first reviewer said, and if they can't verify it, then they're talking with that first reviewer, and if they can't come to consensus on the review, then they're involving, in Indiana, they're involving the Department of Ed, or if it's outside of Indiana, they'll involve me to be the third reviewer, and we'll make a decision then together. Okay, so the second reviewer then, after that second review has been done and everything's been talked out, then they're going to do one of two things. They'll either click a box that says the school has not met all the requirements for the Indiana Gold Star School Counseling Award or the Ask a Ramp Award, and then send the please revise email to the steering team now. And as soon as they click that, then you're going to get an email that says please revise, and that email will include a link to the reviewer's report. So you'll be able to see, here's the little issue that we had, and here's what we want you to do differently. And then the narrative will be there. You'll say, please do this. When we train the reviewers, we train them to make that narrative very concrete so you know exactly what you have to do. And then they'll give you a deadline. That email will also give you a deadline for when to resubmit. Or if everything looks peachy, the reviewer will click a different box, and that box will say send the congratulations email to the steering team now, and that will include instructions for receiving your Indiana Gold Star Award or instructions for receiving the Ask a Ramp Award. Okay, so all that's in place. This is what the reviewer report looks like. So if you do have a few little things that need to be fixed, you would go to this report. Here's some general comments, but then you'll be able to see some specific comments as well. Here's another thing, like in this reviewer, the vision statement, the reviewer made the comment, you're missing the ASCA ideals, focus on prevention. There were some others there. So, and then you can see this one actually got revised, and then it was approved later. So yeah, so that's just kind of how it all works, what you're going to see when the email comes. Okay, I'm just gonna, let me see if we have any questions about that before I start talking about next year. If we have a question. So the advocacy documentation, let me go back. Her question was, where do we enter the advocacy documentation? And let me just go see here. It is I think, and I probably misrepresented this in the PowerPoint. The advocacy and the public relations, if you notice those slides in the PowerPoint were very similar. They go together. So when you're doing the public relations, you're actually doing the advocacy. So your advocacy documentation is going to also be your public relations documentation. So you'll just upload both of those. Or actually, it's just one thing that you're going to upload here. So and I'll rework this in the PowerPoint presentation. So there is no advocacy by itself. Advocacy and public relations is the same thing. In the program, I'm sorry, in the online system, we're just calling it public relations, which is advocacy. So, and I understand that question. That was a really good catch. The PowerPoint did not make that clear. It made it sound like it was two different things. It's the same thing. So let me just unmute real quickly and make sure that Andrea, I think you have yourself muted, but did that make sense? Or you can just type in did that answer your question? Let me see. She's typed in, and she says.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, very good catch. We're doing this this webinar again at 3 o'clock, and I'll make sure that I change those slides. That was confusing. Good, thank you. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk real quickly about future years. So we get a lot of questions about once you get RAMP or Gold Star, when do you renew? And I think the easiest way to think about this is that it's always 2 years off and then 1 year on. So you're doing the work this year in 2014-15. So that's your year on. Then you'll have 15-16 off and 16-17 off. You'll renew your RAMP or your Gold Star in 17-18. Now, that said, we don't think it's a good idea to just not talk about your program design for 3 years. So we're going to suggest that every summer that you meet with your advisory council for the next 2 summers, and that you talk with them about your follow-up data, and you just kind of have a general discussion about, is our plan still a good plan, or do we need to make some in-flight adjustments? So we'll prep you to do that. I'll show you that in a sec. But we'd like to suggest that at the end of next school year and the school year after that, that you have just this one-time meeting with your advisory council to make in-flight adjustments to your program. Then in 2017-18, we'll basically go through redesigning school counseling again, except it's much, much easier because instead of starting from scratch, we're starting with work that's already been created. So instead of starting from scratch on the vision statement, we'll just get out the old vision statement and say, is this still okay? Or do we need to be more lofty? Or did we miss the boat? Or have things changed in the last 3 years? We'll get out your priority goals and we'll say, are these still our priority goals or do we need to switch? So it's a lot less time consuming. There's about half of the webinars and it's really a whole lot less time consuming. So because all we're basically doing is updating things that have changed. Okay, so that's future years. Yeah. So let me go online and show you then next year, after you've submitted your portfolio, everything's been approved, here's what will happen. So next, and we will send you a reminder about this. Next fall, you will no longer be a first-year school. So you'll come in to the Uses tab, and you're going to say, I'm not a first-year school. I'm also not renewing. I'm an annual update school. So I'm going to hit Annual Update and Save. That's going to customize your online system. Down here, when it asks questions, you'll say, do you already have RAMP, or ask a RAMP, you'll say yes, and just answer those questions. Okay, so then when I go to the Process tab, notice that instead of having the process be in the first year, now, because we switched the uses, now we're looking at Annual Update, and here's what you need for that one meeting. And I just wanted to walk you through this because what we're doing a year from now is we're seeing how did the implementation go. Did the priority goals change? Did you do the activities that you thought you were going to do that are in your plan? So we're just kind of doing a little checkup on the implementation. So one thing that you'll do, and we tried to make this very low time consuming, one thing you'll do is you'll say, did you complete your activities? So I click Enter. This is a year from now. Here's the activities that you plan to do next year, and you just click the ones that you did. As you do, this percentage will change. So I click the first one, and it says, okay, you've done 10% of the activities, 20% of the activities, 30% of the activities, whatever the percentage is. And then it asks you, are you pleased with the percentage of activities that you planned for this year that you were able to fully implement? And then you could just say yes. But if not, what changes are you going to make in the coming year? This is that in-flight adjustment thing. What changes are you going to put in place that will allow you to fully implement the activities in the next year? So it's just kind of like a self-study, a self-reflection. Very easy, not very time-consuming. Okay, so that was step 1. Step 2, resource utilization. This one is more for the Indiana schools, although there are some of these resources like the Know How to Go resources, the Drive Your Life website. Some of these are national. We just want to know, did you use these resources, and how did you use them? Okay, so that's resource utilization, and then this is my favorite part. This is really what we want you to look at. We want to see, did you reach your priority goals? So now remember, this is a year from now, so you're looking at this in June of 2016, and you've done another survey. So when I click on enter, the computer is going to pull up all of the historical data. Yeah, it's pulling up lots of data, so it's, there we go. And it's saying, okay, this school had 3 priority goals. Let's just look at the first one. Have an up-to-date written 4-year high school course plan. It's going to give you all of your past data. So, and actually for you guys, this would be, you'd have one set of data, and it would be 2015. But as you give more the survey year after year, it'll give you all the historical data. And then the last one was where you put in your target data. So for this school, it says, we've been hitting about 1/3 of the kids with this 4-year high school course plan, but next year we're going to make it 100%. So that was the plan, and now we want to go in and analyze. So very simple analysis. We're just saying, here's what you plan to do, and did you do it? And, I would say yes. And then what evidence do you have for, what advice do you have for schools who may also have this goal? Oops. Just click the wrong thing. Or if you say no, then it would be, what advice do you have? Or if you don't know if you've met the goal or not, what advice do you have? We're building a database. A lot of our schools, we're finding, have common goals. And so we're building a database with this where we can say to schools that this is your goal. Here's advice that schools who have met their goal have. And for schools that have not met their goal, here's advice they have for you. So we're building this database so future schools and you will be able to use it. But also this is just a real quick assessment. This is where you were planning to be, and did you hit it? And then, what advice do you have causes you to think about, why did we not hit it and what can we do differently? So you'll stick that in there as well. Okay, and then finally, if I go back to the process tab, I'm conducting the advisory council meeting. Here's the PowerPoint slides for that, and then entering the meeting minutes, and then the rubric item. So again, I wanted you to see this now because the work isn't finished. All we have now is a plan, and next year is where you're going to implement that plan. And then there'll be this quick discussion with your advisory council after the first year of implementation, in-flight adjustments, quick analysis, and then off you go into the year after that. And then down the road, nothing's going to be linked on this page, but here is where we do our updates every 3rd year. So 2 years off, 1 year on. So okay, so I think that is it. Let's go to the live folks and see if anybody has any questions. And I am not seeing any additional questions. Okay, so we'll go ahead and close.
So do we need to?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Do we need to give the survey in the spring?
I would. That's a good question. I meant to bring that up earlier. The survey is now open, and it'll be open until June 15th. I would give it again. Chances are, if you haven't put in programming to address your priority concerns, they probably haven't changed since you gave the survey in 2014. but you don't know. So I would recommend that you give the survey again, and that you just plan on giving it every year so you can see how that data is moving, over the years. Okay, questions about that? Okay, well, let's do this. I know that the people in the live audience had a couple of other questions that we were going to discuss after we stopped recording. So let's go back to I just want to make sure I don't have any other slides. Nope, that's it. So just remember, everyone, and those of you who are watching this in the archived version, how much we value school counselors. We know that you make a difference in the lives of your students. We also know that when you do a great job as a school counselor, you don't get a pay raise, you don't get a corner office, you don't get a promotion. What you get is the satisfaction of knowing that you're helping people. And I always like to quote Lorraine Monroe from Frederick Douglass Academy. She was doing a presentation to counselors, and she said, you guys are really angels in disguise. And that's certainly what we believe. As we've watched over the years, you make such a difference in kids' lives. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's been a delight to do these webinars with you this year. And we'll close this webinar, and then the people in the live audience, participants, if you could just hang on for a minute, and we'll discuss some of those things that we were going to discuss once we stop recording. So, okay. Just give me one sec here. Just can't find the recording button. There it is. Oh, this is really weird. Let me try. I'm sorry. I don't know why this is not. I've totally lost the recording button. Okay, it says recording in progress. There we go. Stop.